It's sad but true. Too many searchers lose their opportunity to buy wonderful businesses when sources of financing decline the funding application. It doesn't have to be that way, and sometimes it shouldn't. Listen to this story about resurrecting a good deal that almost cratered because it wasn't in the self interest of a source of financing. I'm Ted Leverette, broadcasting from partneroncall.com. I'm the original business buyer advocate. For more than 30 years, I've been helping people find and buy the right businesses the right way. And along the way, I've interacted with and learned from some of the best deal makers worldwide. You're going to hear Peter Nola of ABC Business Sales talk to us about banks and deal making. Okay, Peter, what do we need to know?
One of the biggest deal breakers that we have is other banks. But purchasers still have in their mind that, oh, I've banked with the bank for 20 years, so I know them well, they know me, they'll give me the best deal. And of course, that's, as you well know, painfully incorrect. So they go to the bank, they present their proposal, and for some reason, the bank isn't lending on that business category at the moment. So the bank turns around and goes, no, we're not going to lend on that. You know, we don't feel that it's a good deal. And what they're really saying is they don't feel it's a good deal for the bank. They're not actually saying they don't feel it's a good deal for the purchaser. So the purchaser comes away and goes, well, I've banked there for 20 years and they told me it's not a good deal, so I don't think I want to buy it. And trying to get them to understand that perhaps we need to either talk to a good finance broker who has better connections than simply walking in off the street and talking to whoever's behind the counter, or we need to do a little bit of shopping and shopping around. And I had a very similar thing happen not so long ago where we had a guy. I thought he was well funded. You know, we did the exercise on paper, and I couldn't see why he wouldn't get funding. And he goes, well, I've been with the bank for so long, I'll go to them. So that bank took probably 4.5 weeks to say no, which 4.5 weeks is way too long to say no. And he came back and he was really depressed because he wanted the business, but the business was no good because the bank wouldn't lend on it. I said, well, let's just try an experiment. Let's put that same application to two of the other banks. Pick any two you like, and let's just see what happens when we do that. Oh, it won't work. And I said, well, you know, I'll talk to them. I'll do it. Just you know, sign the paperwork and let me go. And he goes, yep, fine. So we talked to two other banks. One of them took 4 days to say yes, and the other one took a day and a half to say yes. Now, he just couldn't quite believe it. So he had a choice now of two loan packages, slightly different terms and conditions. You know, one was a little better, and he just couldn't believe it. He's going, well, yeah, but the other bank said it was no good. And I tried to get him to understand how the banks work, you know, and simply if you strike the bank at the right time, you're going to get the right deal. So that's a really good example of, I guess, how a broker needs to think a little bit on its feet. And it's really easy to say, I'll go to the bank, have a chat, come back to me when you've got the money. But you've got to be a lot more hands-on than that, I think, because the purchasers only know what they know, and they know that bank, and I don't want to bank with anybody else, but I want to do the deal. You know? So that's probably a good example of something that we had to turn around simply by going to another bank and talking to another banker.
What about vendor or seller financing? How does that come to the party?
We don't do a lot of it here. In fact, it would be the exception rather than the rule. And if it is used, it really is only used as a top up. So maybe 15% maximum of the purchase price would be vendor funded, but it is very, very rare. And the general, I guess, resistance from a vendor is simply, well, you know, I'm handing you a perfectly good business. If you're going to make a dog's breakfast of it, I'm going to lose my money. And why am I gambling the value of my business on your ability to run it? And I guess the counter argument is, well, if it's a good business, it's not going to be a problem. But it's not always that simple, obviously. So it is pretty rare for us to have vendor finance. Yeah.
Any other stories where a deal looked like it was heading in the right direction and all of a sudden it was over and you or the parties did something to resuscitate it?
It's often something comes out. I mean, we as a broker, we ask questions, but we don't know what we're not told, obviously. So, and we don't do as thorough due diligence on a business as a purchaser would doing, obviously. We just simply don't have the time. So it's when something unusual pops its head up in due diligence, and they will then go, the purchaser goes, whoa, I'm not doing that. Look at that. This is a major issue. And they talk to their accountant or their lawyer or their advisor. And of course, they're employed by the purchaser. So they give them the most pessimistic view of whatever that is. And, the world's going to end because of this. And they come back to the broker, and the broker's job is to then, I guess, put some sanity into that evaluation. The world's not necessarily going to end. It's just this, and you need to handle it like that. So as a broker, you like to know what the bad things are and get them out up front. But if you don't, then you really need to think on their feet. And so I had a business who was importing product, and he was drop shipping a lot, so containers direct from wherever to the customers and not warehousing. And when they did the investigation, they found that there were a number of handshake deals as opposed to contractual deals. And to them, it was a handshake deal. It was that's not going to work. It's 30% of the business, and I can't buy it. And that's what their advisors advised them. So we sat down, and this handshake deal had been going on for 18 years. So the chances of it not carrying on were pretty remote if it had gone on for 18 years. And what we did was we got the buyer, and we got the vendor, and we got the customer, and we got them all in a room, and had a cup of coffee and a biscuit, and had a chat, and the old buyer walked away going, well, that's fine. There's nothing to worry about there. I'll buy the business. And his advisors are still going, there's no contract. It's too risky. You can't do it. But that's where a broker has to have that voice of sanity and try and bring the parties together.
And you know what? It's what we do on my side too. It's what we do. It's silly for buyers to walk away from wonderful opportunities.
And sometimes they just need to see that bigger picture. I mean, look, buying a business is a risk. If it wasn't, you'd put the money in the bank and get 1 or 2% on it. So but you want 20% or 25% on your money. So it is a risk. But you just have to be logical in the way you mitigate that risk. It's as simple as that. And I think it's back to a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of lack of self-confidence that, they look for reasons why they shouldn't, and the broker's got to give them reasons why they should.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I struggle with. I get hired by buyers, they're ready to rock and roll, and within moments of beginning their search, they start getting scared and everything comes to a slow crawl. and we have to work on the reality that, yeah, it's risky, and this is why we have to find worthwhile deals. But if we sit on the sidelines, we have no deal.
Well, I think the biggest thing a purchaser has to understand is he can't buy someone else's financial statement. Back to that analogy of the boat, the wake tells you what it's done, but you're then in charge of it. You're steering it. So, if you suddenly make a left turn, that's something that, you've got to be aware of. So I think most businesses, certainly once you get over that, buy a job, man in a van kind of business, most businesses have enough about them that if you do what the old owner did, you'll probably get what the old owner got. So the risk factor is probably a lot less in reality than what people think. But I understand, you're risking every dollar you own and your house and all those other things. So you do want to get it right. And when you think about it, the majority of business owners are probably first-time buyers anyway, I would have thought, as opposed to, regular, I've owned 3 businesses in the past. So they have a different view of risk. They're coming out of corporates, they're coming out of salary, whatever.
How could people get in touch with you?
You can find me via my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/my name, Peter Nola. Happy to talk to you. Or you can just email me, my name, peternola@gmail. Happy to talk anytime.
Okay, excellent, Peter. Thanks for sharing the wealth with us.
Anytime. It's a pleasure, Ted.
Okay, listeners, it's Ted Leverette again with a takeaway from that story. Not a good deal for the bank differs from a good deal for the buyer and seller. So submit funding applications to multiple lenders or investors. I hope what you've just heard is as valuable to you as I know it will be for my clients who are searching for and trying to achieve done deals. If you want to know how the most successful searchers find worthwhile deals, read my book, How to Prepare Yourself and Find the Right Business the Right Way. My other book helps you evaluate and negotiate your deal, How to Buy the Right Business the Right Way. You can get my books at my website, partneroncall.com. Searchers, you can do better if you contact me and we build or improve your business buyer marketing plan. You will save time, you will save money, and you will achieve better deals if you do what the savviest buyers do. So, I'm Ted Leverette, the business buyer advocate with Partner on Call Network. Thanks for listening and best wishes for your prosperity.